Yes, mambo vipi, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for always supporting Kenya Marekani, wherever you're watching us from. Karibu sana. Thank you so much always for supporting Kenya Marekani. Tell us how you've been, how the festivity is taking you, as you're waiting to jump the year. I don't know if you'll do the long jump or the short jump or the high jump. Whatever jump you'll do, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you jump nicely. Make sure you have at least a good mattress for the safe landing. You have to prepare for the landing. But please, if you're hearing us loud and clear, please comment on the section there down below. Tell us you can hear us. We'll be talking about a very pertinent issue here about fathers. Fathers ni watu wanalianga machozi kiingia ndani. They don't talk. Yeah, and most fathers are ailing. Most fathers are hurting, but they never talk. But today we'll be talking about, so if you know a father who is hurting, a father who is passing through some stuff, this is the period for them to tag a father around you. And please make sure you share. I see already Sarah Mwasia is here, kama kawaida, kama kawa from Seattle, Washington. Thank you so much. Mr. Ben G, Mkenya, asante sana. Thank you so much. Asante sana. So this show we've been trying to procrastinate, but we are eventually doing it, okay? So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Joseph Nderito. Karibu sana, brother.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, Maze. Thank you so much. Thank you for
yes, karibu sana. We've been trying to do this, and finally it's possible.
Yeah, man. I tell you, finally it's here.
Yeah. The problem with people with big phones.
I know.
Hey. iPhone. These guys, hey, I'm telling you, you have to humble yourself. Anyways, without any more wondering, let's go by the introduction. First of all, introduce yourself to our viewers, tell us who you are, and then we can continue from there.
Okay. Thank you so much, viewers. My name is Pastor Joseph Mwangi Nderito. I go with Joseph Nderito. Nderito is my father. I'm a husband of one wife. My wife is called Grace Wangoi, and the father of two children, Isaac Nderito and Ivy Modoni. Isaac is 12, and Ivy is turning 8 in Feb. And I've been a pastor for the last full-time pastor for the last around 15 years. So I joined pastorhood in 2005 full-time, and I've been a pastor for that long. Currently, I am here in Seattle, serving in an Anglican church called Christ the King as a youth pastor. And, we have been working around to see young people just, be transformed by the message of the truth, that's the gospel. And it has just been amazing to serve here. Initially, I was serving with Nairobi Chapel as a pastor in Nairobi Chapel, Langata. And I really, really thank God for this great opportunity. So I am a pastor. I'm also a man. I'm a father who has been able to heal from father wounds.
Yeah. So, when we talk about father wounds, maybe not many people understand. So take us through your story, how you ended up even experiencing these father wounds. Okay. Before we can even navigate around the issues that pertain it.
Okay. I'm the last born in a family of 4. And, I have 2 brothers and 1 sister. My mother and my father separated when I was around 7 years. And it was so hard for me. Basically, I remember when my mom and my father separated, we were left with my father got another, just got married to another lady. And I remember me and my sister, we were left with my father and my two brothers went with my mom, and we stayed there for a few months. And later my mom came for us, and it was so fulfilling. It was so good to see our mom back after quite a number of months. And I didn't know that them separating and seeing my mother struggle, I didn't know that it is going to have an impact, a serious impact over my life, and even probably even in my ministry and my parenting. And so being in a mix of a domestic violence, where a father and a mother, my mother literally left, and I was a bit younger, couldn't be able to tell what the problem was all about. I was around 7, so I didn't really understand much. But my two brothers and my sister were able to understand. So my two brothers left with my mom, but me and my sister, we were able to be with our father. It was quite hard not to see our mother. And I could, as much as, yes, I was with my father, I missed my mom, and I also could see the challenges that they were going through, but I didn't really understand the nitty-gritty of what they were going through. And after my mom came and took me and my sister, I remember I went and we started living together with my mom. And at that point, my brothers had already left school. They had already left school, and they had felt that there's going on with school. Why should we go on with school? And so they dropped out. They actually dropped out grade 8, what we call class 8 in Kenya. And it was so tough for my brother, literally our second born, who was about to do his exams. And he was one person who even the community really felt like he's going to do something. And I saw my two brothers just left and just dropped school. My sister did the same. And with that, I was able to now stay with my mom. Remember, I was 7 years, so I was able to stay with my mom for a long time. And I could see my mom struggle. I could see her suffer. I could see her even get into drugs. And she really struggled because she was looking for someone to love her. And this really affected me. It affected me so much because I was able to see her struggle, looking for affirmation, looking for encouragement. And at that point, I remember the biggest challenge was the stigma behind anyone who was a single parent, and anything that would happen to their children, anything that would happen to them, though, people, the society would say this is happening because these guys don't have a father. I remember my sister got a baby when she was still in our home, and you could tell the stigma behind it. The stigma at that point was anything that was happening to a family was happening because there was no father, that these guys don't have a father. That's the reason. At first, even getting into school, I started by calling myself my mom's name. I would call myself Joseph Mwangi Modoni. And, literally in school, people would laugh because this was not common. It wasn't that common. And we had so many Joseph Mwangi, so you had to literally pick another name. And this thing affected me. It affected me as I continued growing. And it affected me more when I went to college. And I remember going to college and being in college, I at that point, I really needed to have a father to affirm me. Guys, fathers have the power. There's a way that fathers do in terms of affirmation and to their children and even to their spouses. And those words not only goes to their head, but those words, the words of affirmation goes down to their hearts. And, they are able to rise and they're able to do a lot. And I was struggling at that point because I needed my father more. I really needed my father. And at that point now I could tell that our father, there was a distance, there was a rift between my dad and my mom, a huge rift. And would go to some events, And some of the events, I remember one time, would go to some events like even burials. We'll go to a burial, and you know, in burials in Kenya, where people would take photos, familiar of so and so come here, get a photo. And sometimes, you know, our dad would just, he would just hibernate when exactly the time when he's called for his, you know, for his family to be taken a photo.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was being abandoned. That was being forsaken. You know, I was looking and longing for a man, you know, for a father to affirm me, for a father to encourage me. I didn't have someone to even talk to in terms of issues to do with man. You know, issues to do with man. I didn't have, and so he wasn't close by. He wasn't there, and at that point when I really needed him, he wasn't there. And so for me, the other thing that also caused a lot of pain was I felt like my father didn't love my mom. And it was, of course, it was obvious. You know, it was obvious. And one of the things, Gary, that happens when you're anytime for a boy or a son is that if you hate, if they just sense that you hate the woman in their first, you know, the woman in their life, and the, you know, the woman in their life, the first woman in their life is their mothers, is that the moment they realize that, the moment they understand that happens or that is happening, or they, you know, just get those vibes, then that hurts them, and there's a huge rift between them and the father. Because, you know, the mother, you know, you definitely know the, you know, the relationship between the mother and the father. I mean, the mother and the sons. You know, it's that's the first woman who I fell in love with. And so that my mom was the first woman I fell in love with. And so seeing my father not loving my mom was quite a big thing. It was a, you know, it was a big challenge for me. It was a huge, huge challenge.
Wow.
I didn't have someone to talk to, but God sent a man. When I went to theological school, God sent a man. And this man, surprisingly, this man, when I was in primary school, I left our church and I started going to, this man invited me to their church, a Baptist church in a place called Tigoni. And I remember I would go because, number one, that man had a car. He had a Face Me. You remember the Face Me, the matatus?
Yeah.
Face each other. He had a Face Me, KRP 303. And every morning I would wake up, I would, you know, I would dress on a Sunday and I would go close to where he had a shop. I would be there and, you know, I would be there and wait for him to just collect some guys, and then we'll go to church. And this man, his name is Matthew Kinyanjui. This man kept on encouraging me. I remember when I cleared high school, he's a man who called out he literally called out my giftings. He saw my giftings and he called it out. And Gary, this is the thing I realized at that point, is that fathers, not only do they affirm, but also they call out. They see the gift and they call out the gifts in their children. They see the gift and they call out those gifts and talents. And so this man saw a gifting in me and he called out the gift in me. I remember he's the one who said, I feel and I sense, you know, so spirit, you know, those pente. I feel and I sense that God is calling you into ministry.
Yeah.
How? He saw it. And he's the man who literally called me out. By then I had left my mom into another church. So I said, no, he came in and got into the, and you know, filled in the gap that my father literally left. And this man took me to school. He's the one who recommended me. Then he joined me with my pastor. By then my pastor was called Pastor Joseph Kamau. He's, you know, those guys really helped me a lot. And they were able to work with me. And I got into ministry. And remember, in this time, as I was in ministry, I was still wounded. As much as I was in ministry, I was preaching powerful. I was doing well. I was serving, but I was wounded because I was not able to speak to anyone about my wounds.
Yeah.
I was really, really wounded. And so wounded because I could tell that my brothers would go for a family gathering. And I remember one time when my brothers went to a family gathering, I was in college. And, family gatherings, you know them, Gary, where people will say, my name is so-and-so, and I belong to, I am so-and-so, and that is my father. And I remember my bro called me, and they say, our firstborn called and say, was to introduce himself. So he said, my name is so-and-so, and that is my father. And my father stood and said, no, you don't have to say the very last one. And my two bros were really hurt, and they called me. I remember I had this portrait of my father when he was young, and when he was a young adult, and he looked like me, completely like me. And I had made it very well with a very nice portrait, and I had hung it at my, I was living in church by then. I was living I had already gotten a house in church, so I had hung it in church in my house. And when they called me, I was so bitter. I took the photo, I smashed it, I just teared it into pieces. I burnt it, and I felt the pain in my veins. I felt the pain in my veins. A man who looked like me, I was trying to find identity because, I didn't have a man. And so, I would sometimes I sometimes call him, but at this point, things were becoming better. But I think the moment he did what he did, now the rift even became bigger. It became bigger. The surprising thing is that my mom, she never told us anything bad about our father.
Wow.
She never. So I got married, and my father came to my wedding. He was there. He stood beside me. I remember, he told, when I went to tell him I'm getting married, he said, I'm going to come, but I need fare. So I said, I will give you the fare to come in. He came even for my dowry. He supported me a bit in terms of dowry. But the day of wedding, he came. My mom bought what happens. My mom bought a gift for me. And the reason why I asked her, why did you buy this big gift? And she said, the reason why I bought this big gift is because I want your father to be able to stand beside, because I don't want to create any picture that he never did anything. And so my father came, and I thank God that he came. But remember at this point, Gary, I was still wounded. I had not gotten anyone to talk about it. I was not intentional to talk about my wounds. I was, everything that was happening to me, I just swallowed them. As you said, men would just, swallow them. I would swallow them and allow them to be in my stomach. So my tears would go down.
Yeah.
I got married. And when I got married, the journey started, and we got our first child, Isaac. I decided I'm gonna. You know what happens in our community? You name your children after your sibling. After your folks. Sorry, after your parents.
Yeah.
Or after probably your folks. And so I had to name my son. My mom told me, please make sure you name your son after your dad. And so I had to do that. I named my son Isaac Nerito. My father is Isaac Nerito. My son became so sick to a verge of dying. I remember he stayed in hospital 3 months, and the doctors said that he's not going to survive. My brothers thought that the reason why he's sick is because of the relationship between me and my father.
Wow.
At that point, my father had asked me for something, and I had not taken it. Alikuwa amenitisha kilemba. Mita tatu, bro. And so I had not taken it. Alikuwa amenichapia.
Mlikuwa Wakorino? Were you guys?
My dad ni Mkorino. Yeah. I tell you.
So you are a Korino before?
I wasn't. My dad was a Mkorino. My dad is a Mkorino even now. But you know, Wakorinos are there are those who are they don't have. I think for me, that's what I thought, that they are polygamists. That's what I thought, because he didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
When I got my son, my son. Oops.
Oh.
When I'm sorry. When I got my son, when I got my son, my brothers thought that the reason why this was happening is because of my relationship with my father. Because I had not taken in, some things that he had asked. But I remember my father calling me and saying, don't think it's because of that. So please don't connect anything that is happening to your son with me. And I said, of course, I didn't really connect anything. When I got my son, I didn't know. I really wanted, I wanted to have a girl. I wanted to have my firstborn. I wanted to have a girl to just name my mom. But my son came, and I called him Isaac Nerito. And guess what was happening at that point? When I was calling my son his name, it reminded me my father. And when it reminded me my father, it reminded me my wounds.
Wow.
Unintentionally, unconsciously, I started drawing far away from my son without knowing. My son started developing low self-esteem. Some people could tell. Some people would tell me that, even my wife would tell me, your relationship with your son is wanting. And I remember one time my son went with a friend of mine. His name is Pastor Andrew Minor. And he went with Pastor Andrew Minor into a camp. They went for a camp somewhere in Naivasha. And the report he gave me was, your son is suffering from attention deficit. And your son is looking for attention. When he said that, immediately I said, if I don't work on this, this might be a vicious cycle. It will be from me to my son to his children, and will be a generational thing. And I said, it's gonna stop with me. It's gonna stop with me. Gary, hurting people hurt others. And any person with father wounds, not only do you hurt your children, but even hurt your spouses in turn without knowing. The reason why you see so many people, I remember that, research that was done, that the very many people who are in prison today, a huge number of people in prison, they are either suffering from, underfathered, they're either underfathered or absent fathers, or even probably misfathered. Underfathered where, they didn't have good, sufficient time with their fathers, or maybe no father at all, or probably a misfather. The father is there, but nothing is happening. And this affected me a lot. And I said, I'm going to change. At that point, my health was also not okay. In 2019, my health was also not okay. I started growing thin and thin and thin. And one time I decided to go, my wife started telling me, you need to go and check your sugars. I decided to go and check my sugars. I checked my sugars. my sugar levels were high. I had started developing diabetes. I was in the face of pre-diabetic. I was pre-diabetic.
Yeah, wow.
I started medication, started taking glucomet. Started taking, I wasn't taking shots, but I started taking glucomet. And so, started taking glucomet. But 2020, after taking glucomet for a year, I decided to confront this big thing, the father wounds. And I said, and my wife told me, I decided to go and see my father. I called him. It was on 24th. I called him, said, Dad, I want to come and say hi to you. He said, are you sure? Yes, I want to come and say hi to you. I didn't know where he was. I didn't know specifically where he was living, but I knew the area. My wife knew where he was living. My wife had gone, and my wife had gone, and my children, my son. But that was way longer. But I didn't know where he had, where he had moved from the place where we were living initially. So, I decided to go. He was living in Nakuru. So my wife is the one who literally, told me to lipitiapa, such. And we arrived home.
Yeah.
Gary, I have never seen my son happy as he was that day. He has gone to his other guka, other grandpa on the other side. But this time, he was extremely happy. So I decided to take time to apologize. And, I apologized for anything. And at that point, I was also trying to make my way with my Heavenly Father to make sure that, because I was carrying resentment and unforgiveness. I was carrying unforgiveness. So I had to mend my ties with my Heavenly Father. And in turn, my Heavenly Father worked with my earthly father, and he was ready to receive me.
Wow.
We had a good time. I remember this is what he did. And this is a miracle, Gary. He asked me, I heard that you're diabetic. I said, yes. And he said, I'm going to pray with you. And he prayed with me. I heard him pray. Man, I heard him bless me. Man, I heard him apologize. I apologize. Gary, you will be surprised that was the last time I used glucomet.
Wow.
That was the last time. When I was living on 27, the Lord gave me a verse, just being spiritual. The Lord gave me a verse that's to make sure that we are spiritual. The Lord gave me a verse. And the verse is in Malachi chapter 4, verse 6. Malachi chapter 4, verse 6. It speaks of Jesus and the messenger himself, that, Malachi speaks, and I'm going to send a messenger, and he will turn back the hearts of the father to the sons. I love this translation. The heart of the father to the sons, and the heart of the son to the fathers, so that I will not come and strike the earth with a curse. And I said, wow, that's powerful. The other one is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4. Fathers, do not provoke your children. It doesn't say mothers. It doesn't. I don't know if you've ever noticed that it doesn't say mothers. It says fathers. In Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4, it says, fathers, do not provoke your children into anger. That's how powerful fathers are. They not only affirm, but also they call out. They call out. My relationship with my son had a turnaround. It had just had a turnaround. I allowed myself to spend more time with him. I allowed myself to just allow him to ask me as many questions as possible. And this guy, even now, he would call his grandpa and they would have a conversation, man. It is so fulfilling. Father wounds affect nations. It affects nations.
Wow. Wow.
It affects nations.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
bro. I don't know this, and I don't know. Ask
Amazing.
me.
Amazing. 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 You know, fathers die with a lot of pain. Not all the fathers talk, and also fathers, I think, they play a very big role of raising sons, but sometimes we leave all this work for the mothers, you know. And as you've told us, what was the process like, you know, dealing with trying to find that identity, and also like you still preaching to people, you know that sometimes you can sink into that. How
Yeah,
did you like overcome that?
it's still work in progress, because I
Mhm.
realized that I had low self-esteem. I couldn't be able to, growing up, I had a lot of low self, because remember, fathers not only affirm, but they encourage.
Yeah.
And today, if you're, it's so amazing. I know you have a daughter, but today, if you tell your daughter, you look pretty with that
Yeah.
dress,
Mhm.
the way it's going to sink
Hey.
is gonna sink more.
Yeah.
The way I
Gonna
tell
go
my
deep.
daughter that than mommy, imagine, it's gonna sink more.
Yeah.
It's gonna sink more. I have a daughter, and that's what every time I tell her, Ivy, I look at you, you're so pretty, you're the most beautiful girl. And I can tell the face will just glow.
Mhm.
And it was work in progress, Gary,
Yeah.
because I had struggled with self-esteem. I couldn't stand in front of people. How? I couldn't stand in front of people.
Mhm.
But one of the things that I allowed myself to do is, the first process is to mend my ways with my Heavenly
Yeah.
Father.
Mhm.
Because He's a mirror. He shows me how to do it. And he's compassionate with me. Even when I go astray, He loves me. So I had to make my way with Him. He would
Mhm.
challenge me. My Father in heaven would challenge me, because I used to speak bad. Hata kama my dad wasn't there, I would speak bad things about him, my father,
Yeah.
my earthly father. I would speak bad. I was mad.
Mhm.
But I had to really work with that. But number two is also, I think it's also intentional. I had to be intentional to deal with
Yeah.
it. So the first one is to admit that, yes, I had father wounds. And when I realized that when I admitted, I had to say, yes, I was wounded. I am wounded. I am wounded. And when I admitted, the next thing I did was I got into a circle of people that helped. I did a program called Man Enough in our church, Nairobi
Mhm.
Chapel, Langata.
Yeah.
We did, and that was a turnaround for me also. Actually, that was a
Wow.
turnaround for me. So I was
Yeah.
with this man, and there was a good, safe space. And that's what
Mhm.
most of the men lack: safe space. I had safe space to talk about it. I had people, then they were so this is the thing. In that small group, they said, we're gonna be accountable to one another.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're gonna ask you, did you do what you said you will do? Did you call your father?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that week they challenged me that you've got to call your father. So having this the safe space, but also accountable people, or accountability group, that they
Mhm.
can be able to challenge you, they can be able to call you out. It was quite amazing. Then, of course, the next level was when I admitted. I had to ask for forgiveness to my father, because I know I did a lot of speaking, and so I had to literally take action and go and seek for
Yeah.
that forgiveness.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow. 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 Amazing. I see a lot of people are being encouraged here. Thank you everybody for watching. You know, I think the issue you're talking about is very important because so many young men uh, have lost direction because they lacked that, and also they didn't take it into their heart to go and amend that. You know, which you did, and is a very good thing. You know, that's being a man enough. You know, man enough. Yeah. So the fact that you went and reconciled with your dad, you know, you took the initiative, and now you're free. The freedom now that you have in your heart gives you joy.
Yeah.
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 And I believe now you cut that because you decided to be that man that you need to cut this from generational, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to recommend you on doing that.
Thank
Thank you everybody for tuning in, and if you have any comment, any question, any suggestion, anything you want to talk about, also let us know on the comment section, and then we can read out your comment. Yeah. I'm trying to see from the comment sections. Yeah, I see. I think just guys are just following what you're talking about, which is a very good thing.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, amazing. Yeah. So because I've seen also this issue of that gap between dads and son. That is that the reason why I feel like most men don't know how to even take care of their wives nowadays, because I see most ladies, they're like, all men are dogs. Where does that come from? Is it
It's
because the fathers have not mentored their sons, or what?
it's very true. It is the first. My son can only learn how to deal with the woman through me.
Yeah.
And so I need to model how I deal with my wife. I need to model that. I need to model that to him, because I am the man that he sees. It's called, what is it? Monkey do.
Yeah.
Yes,
Monkey
monkey
see,
sees,
monkey
monkey.
do.
Yeah, monkey sees, monkey do. And
Yeah.
so, what the truth is, the majorly reason why sometimes you find that most of the men are unable even to deal with their women is because we didn't have someone to model that.
Yeah.
We didn't have someone to model that. And today someone may ask me, but Pastor Joseph, what about someone who doesn't have a father at all? How do they navigate that? I think there are issues of men that can only be dealt with men. I mean, that can only be dealt by men.
Yeah.
And if you can be able to, one of the things is just praying. If you're a single parent, one of it is praying that God may guide you to someone who it can be an uncle, someone who is close to you, can be a pastor in your church, someone who can be able to really help. For me, it was a man, a deacon, who literally called out, a deacon who called out. So can be someone you can be able to trust, and can be, and that is why I'm really challenging churches. The churches, if we're gonna move to the next level, we have to literally allow men ministry to thrive, so that those men ministry can be able to in turn mentor most of the young men, or even young men, or even loving those young men who are in the church and they do not have fathers.
Mama Malaika. Oh, sorry. You can just finish.
Yes.
So I was saying the pride of men hinders them from all what you're talking about. There is that pride men carry. My son is more close to me than to the dad.
That's
How
awesome.
how can also because sons needs to learn something from their dad, and we don't need to have that big gap. The way like growing up, most people our age were not very close to their dads. until when you start to earn. That's when you can have something on the table to talk about with your dad. We used to just revere, not even revere, like fear, you know, fear our dads. How can we bridge that gap in between sons and fathers?
You know, I've just seen Mama Malaika speak about her being so close to the son than the dad. The pride in men's hinder them from all what you're talking about. My son is more close to me than to dad. One of the things that I pray is that God may help, that dad will be able to open his eyes. That God will open his eyes to see that, he needs to be very close to the son. There are things that there are things that there are men issues that only man can be able to talk about. And so these men literally need to, I hope and I pray, because nothing that is impossible with God, that God is going to open his eyes to see it. God is going to open his eyes to be able to see it, because it's quite a challenge if the son is much more closer to the mother. And that's what we were saying, Gary, that there are people who the fathers are there, but it's the missed dad. They're missing in action, but yet they are there. It is so unfortunate. And I think that is why we are saying churches need to come up with programs that are going to help. For me and you, we are the generation that God has literally brought in the truth, that we can be able to sit with our children and talk. Sometimes it's also good to appreciate that God has given us, has just helped us in a very big way. What you're saying, it was so hard for us to sit down with our dads and talk about things. But now, our children can be able to ask us from all manner of questions. All questions. Let me give you an example. One time, my son had her balls had not dropped. Her balls had not dropped. And I remember when he was showering and realized that one of the ball had not dropped, and that's a big thing, man.
Yeah.
And he came and told me, Dad, what I'm realizing is that one of my ball is stuck. And I could tell, and I wondered if at that point we were not close. At that point we were not, I had not started developing closeness with him. He would probably not have told me. If he would not have probably told me. And I remember going to Nairobi South for that operation, and we stayed with him for a whole night. And he was asking me a lot of questions. Is it a must for it to drop? And imagine, I had a very good conversation about it and the reason why it should drop. So God has given us a huge blessings that our children are able to speak. They are not like our time. Our time,
yes.
I don't know if we were timid, but nowadays, your daughter, Gary, can ask you questions and you wonder, Haja. And your friends, that's good, man. That's a blessing. That's a blessing. It is us, it is me and you that have now been able to know the truth, to continue preaching this gospel of the closeness of fathers to their children.
Yes, true.
It is me and you, we've known. And then challenging churches again. Please, churches, we've got as much. It is not just going to heaven. We are also living in here. Please, churches, let's make men ministry stronger. Even if you're 5 or you're 10, let's make it more stronger and resolved, because we've got to allow men to be, honestly, to be part of this. And then we'll see the change. Because remember, unresolved fatherhood, it is a vicious cycle. It is a vicious cycle. So if you do not resolve them, you're going to catch on your children and the children of your children, and going to be a generation and going to be a nation in time.
So I think this question also might relate to what we're talking about. Like we grew up, we never saw like our dad opening cars to our moms, hugging them, maybe showing that love even in public. But the ladies nowadays, they want us to do that to them. So it's our work as men right now to teach our sons to do that, or what do you think? Who should be doing that?
It's Gary, you are the man. Imagine, Gary, there are so many things that as a father you're gonna teach your children.
Yeah.
I'm gonna teach my son a lot of things. Number one, what you're saying, respecting women. I'm gonna teach my children, or even how to use cutlery. You're gonna teach your daughter how to use cutlery. It's you, Gary. It's you to teach her. This is how, even in Chicago.
Now, you can't teach them if you don't know how to do it.
Now you have to. Thank God, because of YouTube, man. You've got to learn how to do it. It is you to talk to your daughter on how to say no to some of these things. It is you. Remember, it is you to talk about those things to your children, because they not only go to their mind, but they go to their hearts, and in turn go to their hands. So they operate, they operationalize them. So they go to their head, and not just their head, but even in their hearts. When something gets into their heart, then it's so possible to work on them. So we are the ones to teach them. But let me ask you, do you think you can teach them if you don't spend time with them?
No, absolutely no. You have to create time. You have to be so specific on creating time with your children. Even just staying with them. Some men don't even know the homework that their kids have been given. Yeah. You have to
the problem, Gary, is today we fathers sometimes not only do we the reason we are the ones causing the challenges. When I send school fees to my I give school fees to my wife, and I tell her, "Enda ulipe shule," and my wife goes to pay, and then she goes get a circular of a meeting, parents meeting, and my wife goes to parents meeting. Sometimes I do not even go to maybe even visiting days. I do not. So what happens is then this closeness we are speaking about with parents, because children will always think that wazazi, moms, maybe they are the ones providing, and probably you're the one who gave out the money and everything. But because you even do not show up and you're not part of it, some of us maybe, or most men, they even do not know jina ya mwalimu wa mtoto wao.
Yeah.
And I tell you, it is so important. It is so important to model, but also, it can only be done when you spend more time with them. Teach them on how to open doors for their, when you, of course, you're opening. I say, teach them how to cook. The wife, if for me, I never knew, no one taught me how to cook. When my wife got our first baby, we didn't have a nanny. Pesa za kupata nani inatoka wapi? Ndugu yangu, that is where you know that water and njahe can be able to mix. That's a challenge, man. It is us, fathers, teach your children. Teach them when they wake up. Teach them when they rise. Teach them.
And also, fathers sometimes think providing is showing love. They think like providing will substitute love and just that time with spending time with children. So they think buying toys, buying all this and that will replace them being there. And especially like for instance here in the US, where people are so busy and tight with schedules, how do people create that time to spend with their children, especially sons? Because there's so many teachers here in the US, for instance.
In fact, Gary, I will tell you, it's actually not even sons, because I'm hitting daughters because you have a daughter.
Mhm.
And the best place where your daughter can be able to learn how men treat women is through you.
Yeah.
It's being intentional. That's one word, intentionality.
Yeah.
Just being intentional to spend time. I feel so bad. Us here, we are so busy looking for money, and it's good. But sometimes a question will come into my thought. We'll look for money, and it's good to look for money, but you may look for money so much, and then in expense of losing your children. Looking for money. You have that big flat, you have that big house, but you lose your children. Ask yourself. Sometimes I ask myself this question. How come some of the influential people that I know, even in Kenya, I will not mention names.
Yeah.
But some of the influential people that I know, the moment they die, the many things that they had been able to consolidate immediately goes to shamble.
Yes.
Why? Have you ever asked yourself why? This is a reason. As much with the most paramount thing is not to invest for children, but it's to invest in them.
The children.
It is not investing for comes after you invest in them.
Yeah.
Because when you invest in them, whatever you invest for them, they're able to take care of it.
Yeah.
So one word that even if you may forget any other thing is intentionality.
Yes.
Being intentional. Being intentional.
That's the word.
Yes.
We have to be intentional in all this. Wow.
We've got to.
That has been a very great conversation, and I believe it's a one rare one that has not been spoken about, and it's good we brought this up, and thank you so much for just allowing God to use you in such a way, because not many men can stand out and speak about such issues, but I believe so many people have learned and they've been encouraged from this conversation. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
And it's a conversation that we need to be talking a lot about, because men and young men need some form of mentorship, and some of this platform can be used to mentor young boys, young men to grow to be men that are desirable. That's a good thing. That's a plus for this society.
It's true. It's true. It's true. It's very, very true. Sometimes I look back at even what is happening nowadays, where you find, even in Kenya, where you hear, even for the last few months, you hear that a father killed his wife and his children, and in turn killed himself.
Wow.
Why? What is happening? Have we been able to teach our children on how do you, if you're angry, how do you, how literally taking time to teach them a lot, how to deal with people, how to deal with anger issues, making sure that you're able to do that. But all these, again, remember, Gary, is that I still point to church. Church can be a place where when men ministry grows stronger, then we can have safe space where men can be able to be vulnerable to one another. But nowadays, the reason why people are not vulnerable, because leo nikisema mazeo nikisema ninatwangwa na bibi, the next time ninaipata iko
ni ujumbe kwa kila mtu.
Buda mazee inakuwa kila
news.
Inakuwa news
kwa ghafla na kwa Edgar Obare.
Si ndio? So but men really need to have have you ever, I think as I finish, I think there are 4 men that always encouraged me in the Bible. And this is a challenge to all men, including myself and you, Gary. These guys, one of their friend became so sick. And so they heard that Jesus was in their neighborhood. And they said, wow, now that Jesus is in our neighborhood, we're going to take our friend so that he can be healed. So they take him with this, the stretcher, and they took him to where Jesus was. When they went and fikared there, they found that the house was fully packed. The house was fully packed, as in literally packed.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're here, they're wondering, so what do we do, guys? And what, I just imagine probably one of them said, I see this one, tutoen is in the bricks. So they go up, they remove the bricks, or they remove the roof. And I can imagine if the owner of that house was a cute. And I'm no, mutairudisha vyenye ilikuwa. If it was Anjoro somewhere.
Yes.
But they decided to do all that and said, we're gonna do that. And so they dropped their guide there down. And Jesus saw the faith in those 4 men, and the faith in this guy, and the guy was healed. Most of the time we only deal with that guy who was healed, but we've never thought about these 4 men. Do you have stretcher bearers? Do you have men who literally you can be able to talk to? As in men you can be able to share with. Men you can be able to share with. Men, it's okay. Men you can be able to share with. Do you have those men? This is one of the men here. Do you have those men that you can be able to talk to? 4 stretcher bearers. Gary, do you have them? Some of us probably, we even maybe have one. Spend more time with them and talk to them.
Yes.
Safe space. Yes. Safe space. Amen. Thank you so much, bro.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hey, naona mgeni amekuja hapo, so
mgeni amekaa kunisalimia. He's a man also.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, bro. Sitakuweka zaidi ya hiyo.
Thank you
so much for your time, and this topic we need to bring it again and talk about it, because men need to hear this, and we have to stand as men, because in Man Enough we say no man shall be left behind.
Behind, I tell you, no one.
Yeah. So thank you so much. God bless you. Enjoy your festivity. Tutapatana tena baadaye.
Thank you, bro. God bless you.
Asante sana. God bless you. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I see a lot of people joining in. Thank you so much, guys. Please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Go to our YouTube channel and subscribe, and make sure you click the bell, because this new year we're gonna be bringing you so many topics that relate to us as human, Yeah, let me big up some people before we go. Okay. Let's see. Mama Malaika, always as usual. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you so much. Hopefully men can watch this. Yes. This was a program for men before we end the year, so that in your new resolution you can include some of the things we've been talking about. Amaniaje. Yeah. So I see. But by the way, I see so many ladies in the comment section. Not any men. Yeah, this was a program for men, but anyways, as usual, ladies are always in the forefront, so share this to all your men. I'm a VP. I believe they will learn a thing or two. So with that, I bring this show to an end. May God bless you, and enjoy your festivity. Happy New Year. But we'll bring a good end of year show, so keep it here. Go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, and click the bell, so that anytime we upload any new content, you'll be able to get that notification. I'm a VP. Sarah Mwasia, asante sana. Good topic. Yes, kabisa. Thank you so much. We'll see you. Na watu wenye wamesubscribe, mimi napenda nyinyi. Mama Malaika, Sarah Mwasia, thank you so much, because you always on YouTube, anytime we are there, you get that notification. And on other platforms also, you can click the notification bell, so that because I try to mirror this on my other platforms, so that nobody should be left behind. I'm a VP. So thank you so much. I believe all of you have been blessed. So we'll see you next time.